Hello everybody, and welcome back to another coloring adventure at CL Aldridge Art. I am going to continue coloring the project that we started on our Sunday live stream using the Sargent Art Supreme series artist pencils, colored pencils. So for those of you who might not know me, my name is Christine Aldridge. I am an artist. I do draw coloring books for a living. These are the main collection of my books. There are, let's see what, there's 8, 9, 10, 11 of mine, plus I'm in the 2 treasury books. And then I have a newest book, which is Dragons, Flowers, and Mandalas Oh My. All of these are available through Amazon worldwide in print, or if you would prefer to be able to print your own, you can get them at Etsy. You can also choose to follow me on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. My Etsy shop info will pop up right here, and there you go. Now we can get started. So the first thing I want to do is I want to select the colors. Now, one of the things I've done is, although these are 2 sort of vastly different color schemes, the one thing that they do have in common is that golden yellow and sort of a pink overtone to match the purple undertone here. For this, I am going to need, beside my swatch book, I am going to need, I want the Barrack green. So that is a beautiful dark green. Probably the emerald green, which lives right next to it. For those who follow my channel, you know that I do use an awful lot of pencils. Yellow green, that's a good one. And pale green is another one. So they'll run the gamut of a color, and then I'll also add usually something like a light brown or a brown. In this case, I think I want a light brown. So I'll add a little of that in. Let's see. Now you're thinking, why are you choosing greens if you're going to color a flower? Well, this particular tulip is just forming or just opening, and much of it is still green here on the bottom. But it also is very, very red. So I'll be choosing the burnt red. Let's see here. Here is the burnt red. Probably the red orange. And golden yellow, which is what I've used in a number of other places. The brown will serve to darken up the red. So that is a handful of pencils. So, how is everybody? I do hope that you're having a good week. I am going to start out with the darkest shade, which is the Barrack green. And I'm going to just use it in all the places that would be the absolute darkest, like underneath, where shadows are. I'll probably also pull in some of the browns, or some of the grays a little bit later on. trying to go along, like for instance right in here. Now, as I always, for those who watch my show on a regular basis, you know that my light source, when I think of light hitting it, is always poised up, like right above my hand here. So it's sort of hitting it at a bit of an angle, and you can see that's where I usually put my highlighted portions. So if your light is hitting a piece that you're coloring someplace else, then you would just adjust. Now, you do not have to do shading. You can do perfectly beautiful coloring without shading. I happen to like shading, so that's why I put it in. Okay, now we can go down into a little bit of a lighter green. We want this to be sort of haphazard. Think about, when a flower is just coming out of green and it's coming into itself. Darker coming out from under there, although it's getting more light. So I'll extend that out. The yellow green. So I just want to sort of go over that bluer green. Oops, I forgot one. So it's just sort of coming out of that green. And this is just the first layers. We're doing just sort of some color mapping. This is even lighter green still. Start to work with my reds. So I am going to start with the darkest of the reds. And I am just going to come in a little bit starting here at the ends of each of these flower blossoms. Now, keeping in mind, if my light is hitting it, I want to be lighter wherever I think the light is going to touch it. You can always go back and add more color. But it's hard to take the color away if you overdo it. A slightly lighter red. This is the red orange. And so I'm sort of working that in a little bit over the red. I'm trying to leave room because I'm going to want to bring in that golden yellow. Drawing, by the way, is available in my Etsy shop. It is one of 2 new ones that I just put in there this last week. And now I can bring in some of the yellow. And with that red, it's going to turn it a little bit orange. So I'm just pulling down, excuse me, some of the yellow, being just a little more aggressive with it, because I do want it to be my main color. Sort of going back up a little bit over the red, adding yet a little bit more of a depth of color. Now I do want to darken up some of the red in various places along this far edge. So I'm just pulling in some streaks of brown to do that, and then I can go back over those with the more red color. Sort of actually giving it a more of a using the color to give it texture. Now I go back to my golden yellow, and I may decide that that is a little too bright. And if I feel that way, I can then add in this very versatile color in this set called Maize. And that will help. It's more of a gold yellow, and it helps knock back that brightness. And it also is a very versatile pencil because you can use it over other areas, and it helps to sort of blend everything together. I have to say, I do like these pencils. And then you can just keep moving it down a little, as you are sort of feeling it. And, these pencils are very responsive to increased pressure. So if you increase your pressure just a little bit, you can get a really big color payoff. So I do that. That brings it right back to red. And then if I want to knock that back just a little bit, so it's not quite so bright a red, you can just add a tiny bit of the brown right over it. And it helps to darken it up. I'm going to go with I'm going to go straight to the Maize here on the inside. Because this is hidden even more from you. So now I've got the light brown directly over the Maize. So I skipped the yellow, although I can add it afterward, and it's, I haven't got so many layers on there that it didn't bring it back. Okay, so that is, that's going to be fine for now. I may still tweak it, but let's do some of the leaves, and then I also want to do the butterfly. Well, hello everybody, and welcome back. And I'm going to continue this. For those of you who may not have guessed, it has now been a couple of days since I turned it off and said that I would be starting, to do this. But that's the way of making videos. It is now Wednesday afternoon at about 1:06 p.m. and I am starting the leaves. I have in my hand just a ton of green pencils to the, now I did enhance this just a little bit, darkened up some of the colors, made the spines a little darker green, that kind of thing. And then of course I did a practice one to see how I wanted to show you how to do this over here. So this is the kind of leaves that I'm going for, and and so yeah. Anyway, so I am starting out with my darkest which is this barrack green. Once again, these are the Sargent Arts. Not that I really need to tell you that if you've been watching this video, as a seamless piece. And then, of course, I hide the seams in the edits. So what have I been doing for the last couple days? Well, as most anybody who watches my regular show knows, I am a bit of a news junkie, and there has been a whole lot of news going on. You know, hopeful things. We'll all keep our fingers crossed. I need to adjust that white balance. I am looking so dark there. There we go. I think that's a little bit better. Get rid of that blue cast. It makes me look dead. So I'm just working this dark around the edges a little bit. And I'm going to be light with it where I'm not quite sure yet where my highlights are going. And like, for instance, the sun, if it's, once again, if it's hitting it from this angle going this way, the shadow of the stem would be darker on that side of the leaf than it would on this side. Anyway, so, but I'm also trying hard to make a study of, whoops, there is something else that I wanted to do. I want this to be very dark coming out from under this, because I want it to be very shadowed. So that the petals look like they're casting a bit of a shadow. Now I have added the apple green to the mix, and in this particular set it is not quite as light a green, and it really pulls a transition from that barrack green very, very nicely. So that is what that is about. So I've been, lately, I've been watching a lot of gardening type videos. Started watching Homestead Heart channel. It came up in a suggested, and I started watching it, and now I'm hooked. These are folks who have bought a homestead, and they're you know, starting a farm, and which is something that right now, of course, there's been a really renewed interest in growing food, you know, in uncertain times. And I think that that is a natural gut reaction. You know, the first time that we all walked into the grocery store and everything we wanted wasn't on the shelves. You know, that's a real reality check right there. And so there has been sort of this resurgence in gardening, and consequently, of course, YouTube is recommending gardening channels all over the place. But then what do you do with all this, you know, food that you grow? So that, of course, leads you into looking at canning videos. And, of course, Anne over at A Colorful Life does a lot of canning of food that she grows on her property down there in Savannah, Georgia. And so, yeah, it's sort of like one feeds the other. And I'm going to add in just a little bit of this emerald green, just a few. The emerald green is a little bit bluer of a green. I'm just working my way up to this light area here. So that got me to thinking, because they were talking about, and I'm just about out of raspberry jam, which is my favorite. And I have this is kind of what started it. I was watching Homestead Heart, and because her property has muscadine grapes growing on it, which are great for wine, but they're not really good for making grape jelly or something like that. So she uses Welch's 100% grape juice because she's got, you know, grandchildren that are very young that like grape jelly. I'm not really a fan of grape jelly, but that got me to thinking when she started making jelly out of grape juice. I am a huge fan of cranberries. And a little bell went off in my head that said, ooh, cranberries? You mean I could make jelly out of cranberries? Cranberry juice, or even cran apple juice, as long as it is 100% juice. That seems to be the criteria. It has to be 100% juice. So I'm coming out from under this little petal where it crosses over this stem. So I'm making that dark. But the light would be hitting the top of it, so I'm making that lighter. And then I'm going to make this the lightest part because it's getting, more light than anything else. And then I'll slowly work my greens down. So anyway, but I don't happen to have any cranberry juice, and it'll be a little while before I can order groceries. So I thought, all right, well. And then I remembered there is a brand, it's called Jumex, Jumex, and it's like a soda can, but it's full of 100% juice. And I happen to have a 12-pack of it, and I bought it originally to drink, but at the time, it's just juice, no sugar, anything like that. At the time, I stopped drinking sugary sodas. So, because what I would do is I would mix half the juice with 7-Up. And I stopped, even at Diet 7-Up. And I stopped drinking any kind of, or eating any kind of artificial sweeteners, and all I had was Diet 7-Up. And I could have bought soda water, I guess, but I never did. Anyway, so I've got this juice sitting around. And then the little light bell goes off in my head that said, ooh, these are 100% juice, and they're flavors like peach and mango and all of that. So I am going to try, and then I didn't have any pectin, right? So as it turns out, there are lots and lots of ways to either A, make your own pectin if you have apples, access to, say, an apple tree, or you can use other things. Like, for instance, you can actually use cornstarch as a thickener for jam. I did not know that. Now I know it. You can also use gelatin, and gelatin is something I do have. You could actually use Jello if that's all you had. But I made something one time that required me to buy gelatin. You know, the unflavored gelatin. Oh, I know what it was. It was glue. I made homemade glue, and it needed gelatin. So anyway, so when I am, but I also told myself I couldn't do anything at all until I finished this video. So I'm finishing the video. And hopefully later on today I'll be making some jam. Now, I also, I don't have any ball jars or anything, you know, canning jars, anything like that. So then I had to look up to find out, you know, well, how do you make it if you're not going to can it? And of course the trick is you don't make any more than you're actually going to use. But even opened in the refrigerator, it will still last for upwards of 6 months because of course, you're boiling the ingredients. And as long as you do sterilize the jar that you put it in, it doesn't have to be a canning jar to be pressure sealed or anything like that. You can actually just go straight from cooking, cooling on the counter, and then, you know, putting it in the refrigerator, and it'll last. So, I like that leaf. And so I just wanted to show you how you do these. I'll do one more, maybe this one out here, because it'll have a different kind of light. And like for instance, this is going to be darker along this edge, and then along this entire side, because remember my light's hitting it from here. And how to how to grow stuff from stuff you already have. Like for instance, if you want to grow onions, if you want to, you know, all you need is an onion, just an onion, and you can make more onions. And you know, if you want to grow potatoes, you just need a potato. If you want to grow sweet potatoes, you know, you start with buying a sweet potato at the grocery store, and preferably an organic one, so it hasn't been treated to keep it from growing eyes and stuff like that. And you grow it in loose potting soil and water, and then with sweet potatoes you need slips off of the sweet potatoes, and so one sweet potato in a jar on your counter can create a whole field of sweet potatoes as you take each one off, each little slip off, and it just keeps growing and producing more. These are just skills, you know, that protecting our future with skills from our past kind of thing. So, plus it's good to realize that you know, you're not so much reliant on the grocery store, and that sinking feeling that you got you know, when you went in and there wasn't any food, or you know, to be found that wasn't junk food. Okay, so this side is away from the light. Maybe this is a little dip in the in the leaf. Giving it a little texture there. Maybe this one. And I'm just barely whispering the pencil across. And you just keep working your colors until you get what you want. And I have to say I'm really thrilled with how all three of these tulips have turned out. It's sort of three of the same but different techniques, just blending colors sort of seamlessly into each other in all three, but still allowing the contrasts to show. This is what makes it so fun with these particular pencils, or any kind of a blending medium, is you can really go to town with playing with the light. And the best way to, of course, learn that is to look at photos and actually sort of study how the light hits certain areas. What is light? Is that thing that your eye perceives as a shadow? What color is that? Is it is it a darker shade of the color you are using, or is it maybe purple, or is it gray, or when you're coloring a mountain, for instance, like this, you'd think, oh, I color a mountain gray, but it's not. It's all blues and purples and greens and all of these different shades that are in there. Excuse me. Sort of making it, and it's not perfect, and it's not, I'm just sort of feeling it as I go, just going very lightly with my color until I know and can maybe get a little bit more of a visual insight into what it is that I'm doing. Like, for instance, this leaf is crossing over this leaf, so this should be darker back here. Anyway, I do hope that these coloring adventures that I go on, because remember, guys, I am learning just like you are. I'm watching a lot of channels so that I can then sort of condense the things that I've learned or apply them, to the C.L. Aldrich art method, and then bring them to you, perhaps in a simplified format, or at least a different way. Like, I love to watch Chris Cheng work, but she doesn't talk in her videos, and so I try and talk myself through her videos. What would I say about what she's doing? Which is why I talk and color at the same time. I'm not 100% happy with that one, but we'll work that one out. I kind of want to finish this one. I know this video is getting long, but hopefully you'll forgive me that. Anyway, what about you guys? What are you working on? How are you learning to color? Are you, and I do, I am very interested in that. Are you just practicing? Are you watching people and then trying to do what they do? What is your method for learning? I'm a visual learner. So, to me, it's easier for me to see it done. I like to hear the description, but, if it's something that I'm watching numerous times, I'm very likely to turn the voice off and just watch what they're doing. Got the apple again. So these still need another couple of coats. You can see that these here have quite a depth of color, but you can also, don't be afraid to pull in just sort of here and there a little bit of a color like a brown or a I would probably do a brown on a green. But you just sort of, you're pulling maybe a little tiny bit of texture in, and it just gives it much more visual. And I apologize for that glare. I need to get a diffuser is what I need. What I'm loving about these Sargent Art pencils is this is a 110-pound cardstock, is you can just keep layering and layering and layering. That's a little better. Okay. All right, let's do my little butter. I want to make him sort of fun. So I want him to be blue on the outside and poly greens on the inside. No, yeah, let's start out with the blue. Might work this one a little bit differently. First off, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on its side. And this is only because it's easier for me to do the little circular motion coloring if I'm going back and forth. So I'm just coloring the entire thing, or at least most of it, with this lighter blue. Not going all the way to the edges, but I want this lighter blue to be sort of my base undercoat. And I'm being very, very light pressure, just letting the, just letting the pencil, holding it, fairly far back, just letting the pencil color. Not trying to control it over much. Just putting a light layer down on all of this. And then I'm also going to put a light layer of the, this is the, I believe, the yellow-green down here on these. Because I want our butterfly to look a little bit like a flower. Now I will take the blue and come up from here, from the outer edges, but not a whole lot. I'm just trying to control it so that I'm pulling toward me so that I am lifting the edge of the color, or lifting the pencil so that it's creating that little so it's lighter to the inside. I don't know yet how far I wanted this to come down, so I'm keeping it fairly short. just sort of feathering it out, because I don't know how dark I want our butterfly to be. And you can always add more color once again, but you cannot take it away. Okay, this is the navy blue. We're going to go even darker out here than we already were. Only I'm also going to make it shorter. And if you don't like to do the little stroke like I do, you could do it like this, where you're, where you're just sort of getting progressively lighter as you come to the inside. I don't feel, because I like stroke coloring, I don't get as good a result doing it this way, but a lot of people don't like, a lot of people do. And it's called scumbling, where you're little circles, and then you just ease up on the pressure as you're going in. I think that I like stroke coloring because it's, I don't know, I just like it. Who's to say why? All right, so yeah, so you can add, and maybe also the scumbling method does have a tendency to be a little smoother, and maybe it's because I like the texture. I like to have texture when I color. So I am being very light with the teal, and I'm just that is a flaw in the paper right there. Just adding a little bit of and this may actually work better like this. Forest green. I've got the light, the light green. This is a pale green, and I'm also going to add just a little bit of that in there. What I'm seeking to do here is create a glow like the sun is hitting our blue butterfly and reflecting green, in the same way that a crow's wing does. Or a raven's wing does. Emerald green, which is what I want. And I want to just, because I want this to be a brighter green than the is the apple green. No, I want the teal green. Is that this one? Yes. So I'm just going to come around with the teal, sort of yellow green. Now this doesn't need to be left light. But I don't want it, I don't want to lose the highlight either. I want it to be, I want it to like glow. And I want to make it just a little bit darker coming off the underside of the wing. Adding in the teal. And because I'd already worked at that area, with the lighter colors, it should retain just a bit of lightness. So that it gives it that shiny effect as opposed to looking like a glow. Or not maybe opposed to, but giving it that sort of inner glow. That's what I definitely want to. I need to bring this into line the sort of same way. So sometimes you just have to play with it until you get what you think you're after. And remember, what's the golden rule about mistakes? They don't exist. It's just art's way of making magic. And sometimes you just, you know, if art has a better idea, it executes it and you go, whoa, wait a minute. But then you go back and you look at it and you say, well, I can work with that. Okay, and so that is how I am going to do my butterfly wings. So I think that we've talked about all the different techniques. I really, given that this has already run another hour of me yakking it up, I may end up, if it's shorter than yet 2 hours, because that's about how long it is right now, it's because I've condensed a bunch of it out. And I think it's going to have to be. Bump that brightness back up just a tad. And we'll zoom out. And we'll say that while it isn't completed, hopefully I have shown you all of the techniques that I have used. There's no reason to think that I'll use any different techniques on this bottom part and perhaps different colors. So look for a photo of this on Instagram or Facebook when it's done. It may not be right away, but it may. You never know. I could get a wild hair and just decide to color until the sun comes up tomorrow. Once again, please leave me comments of the things that you like to color. What are your favorite mediums? Is there something that you have that I would, that I have that you would like to see me use? Just let me know. And until we meet again, please color something pretty. Thanks, everybody.